the Artist Series. Thanks so much for joining us for episode 2. Today we have somebody so special and so near and dear to my heart. If you follow me on social media, you have definitely seen her face. It's our associate voice teacher, Mary Kate Foley. Mary Kate has been a very, very good friend of mine for so many years. And actually, we've never sat down in this way to talk about vocal health and wellness, at least not in our journey specifically, so it was really nice to know her whole experience. Mary Kate and I went to college together, but we knew each other before college, so it was kind of interesting what I observed of Mary Kate and what she was going through in her vocal journey. Don't forget to join us every Thursday for a new episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy episode 2 of the Artist Series. Mary Kate, welcome to the Artist Series.
Woo!
Very happy to have you.
Thank you.
I want to dive right in and
Okay.
chat with you about your early vocal life. I have known you since, when was
Six,
that, do you think?
16, 17? It was right
Age 16
before,
or 17? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think right before college, like audition year,
Yeah,
maybe earlier. I don't know. I think you're 16.
I would believe it. So that's a
Yeah.
good chunk of time that we've known each other.
Time in our young
So
life.
tell me about early Mary Kate life. When did you start singing? I don't know this about you.
I started taking lessons when I was 12. That was like official start lessons.
Mhm.
I like always sang around the house, type of vibe. I have a very musical household. So my siblings all like to sing. So I was always singing, and then in middle school went out for the DMS Idol. My middle school did American Idol, and I was like, yes, this is me. And I auditioned. We did it every single year. Every single year sang a different Taylor Swift song. Um, Finally achieving, I think I got second place in eighth grade, and I was like,
And what
yes.
was the song that year?
Change. It was her song for the Olympics. I was like, this is my moment. And then yeah, my voice teacher, Mrs. Rebecca Gamble, the best human ever, wonderful, was my first voice teacher, and she came to that performance and was like, I teach voice lessons, and that's how it all began. Yeah.
Oh, that's so special.
Yeah.
And then you were in all of the musicals in high school. You did all of that good stuff. When was your like conscious memory of I want to go to school for musical theater?
And it's so goofy because I feel like that thought, I don't know if it was the same for you, came well before I had any understanding of what the industry was. I had never obviously worked professionally, as a child or been around that, but
Yeah.
my whole family has loved musical theater. Like, we're always taking us to shows. My grandmother spent her first paycheck on a Walnut Street Theater subscription. So it was like very much part of our life.
Oh, shout
Yeah.
out Walnut, sponsor
Yeah, yeah,
us.
sponsored by Walnut Street. But like that was, in the 50s, 60s, so it's, big theater family. So in high school, did my school shows, and then I also, which would be, after school, 3 to 5. Then I would get on the train. I would go to Haverford and do the Haverford Boys School shows from 6 to 9, and I get home at like 11 and like start math homework. It was
She
very
was
much.
booked and
It
busy.
was busy, and I just feel like I was like, yeah, this is what
Yeah.
I want. So it was like somewhere in high school, like like the way early. I
Yeah.
was, yeah, 100%. That's what I'll do.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So if
Crazy.
I recall correctly, at the start of college,
Uh,
you were very like golden agey, like
yeah,
very beautiful soprano.
that's so funny.
But now you're like this queen belter, which I love, like the queen mix belter.
Hilarious.
And what was your experience like entering into college as like kind of like a more soprano type? Like was that weird? Was that good? Like how did you fall into our little class?
Yeah, it's such a funny question because I think we didn't have social media in the way that we do now.
Thank
So
God.
terms like mixing and belting, I didn't even know what
Mhm.
that was. Um,
Mhm.
my voice teacher growing up was more classically trained, and I remember being like, but I want to sound like, all the Broadway people that we know and love.
Yeah.
And I used to spend like hours and hours practicing in my house. And a formative memory I can say about my own like vocal development was in middle school. The gals in my class who would be like very loud, and then oop, they would like crack, and the
Yeah.
passaggio would really noticeable, and it would get very breathy and very light. I was like, I don't want that sound. So without knowing it, that is kind of how I developed my mix sound because I just was always trying not to have a noticeable break.
Yeah.
So I didn't develop my chest voice pretty much at all, not until college. And I didn't learn how to belt until junior year of
Like
college.
chest belt or mixed belt?
Yeah, I would say chest belt. I don't think there was much chest dominance in there until
And
junior
that's why you'll
year.
sing forever, Mary Kate.
I am so grateful that
Yeah.
but I hadn't, it wasn't, a super conscious thing. I just maybe experimented once or twice in those formative years with chest dominance and noticed a big break and didn't like that. So
Hmm.
I never tried and it was just not part of my practice at all. So it's funny that you say that your recollection is like soprano or golden age because I would listen to you is a great example, like come in and you would belt and I was like, that is so cool. That's
Unhealthily.
so cool. You know what I mean, right? Like
Yes.
you were
Yeah.
so foreign, and I hadn't really seen a lot of live performances to be able to tell the difference between a mixed belt that was more balanced or head dominant versus this chest dominant thing. So it was really interesting. And so when I did finally develop my chest dominant belt with the amazing Dr. Julie Bishop, shout out.
Queen.
Queen, my favorite voice teacher, like in college, best, like, in college. She definitely helped me find like that sound in a healthy, balanced way.
Yeah. And so helpful, I feel like, because Julie came from the classical world, then
Yeah,
into musical theater. So kind of nice to have somebody who went from like kind of your same trajectory, like more head dominant,
exactly.
then into the mixed belt. Nice to have that.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I can be like that, and I'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that you can have all these colors. She was one who really pointed out that, like, if you sing an opera song and you sound in that style, your voice is not going to permanently change to only being able to sing that sound. You can still then go sing your mix song, go sing your belt song,
Yeah.
and it's just different hats. We're just putting on different hats.
Yeah. And you should be able to too. It's like being a
Yeah.
vocal athlete. You don't want to be a one-trick pony.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, it's really funny. Like that is it was so unintentional. And I don't know if I would have been able to have the same journey now
Yeah.
with all of the resources and things that are now available. I'm sure I would have gone a different direction.
Yeah. I wonder, yeah, I feel kind of the access to all of that information. If we had that, I would have been overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Like, what's
yeah,
right? What's wrong? Who knows what they're talking about? Like, how
right.
do you just determine that? And so I feel like social media is such a great tool in that respect, but it's also like
Overwhelming.
everybody's a voice teacher.
Everybody has something to say. Everybody has like the hot take of the moment. And I really just feel like you need to get to know your own voice and
Mhm.
spend quality time with it. And like those big changes don't happen overnight. Like I'm sure that finding a chest dominant belt probably took over a year
Mhm.
of intentional practice.
Mhm.
So I feel like I see that with my students now. They want instantaneous results, but these are muscles and we have to slowly strengthen them over time. It's not going to happen immediately. Any of it, any of it.
Yeah. So tell me what your training was like to develop your chest voice. Was that kind of like a fun time, an easy time, a frustrating time for you? What was that like?
So funny. I can't remember feeling frustrated at all. I had a lot of pressure on myself in college, as so many people in musical theater programs do. But I really just wanted to go to an audition and feel nerves and not break to something that was super breathy. I had a problem maintaining compression in high pressure situations.
Mhm.
So I would go to these auditions and I would have practiced it in my mixed belt, definitely something more balanced. And then I'd get into the room it was so embarrassing. I blew so many auditions because I couldn't get over the nerves
Yeah.
and find that balance. So I believe it was our voice teacher, Julie Bishop's idea. Let's try to find like something more chest voice. Let's get more familiar with your chest voice. that's going to serve all these other registers that you want to do.
Hmm.
But I remember the switch for the chest belt came in a class that Meg and I took together, and it was scene study. And I was doing anything you can do, I can do better.
With Nick Brown.
Yes, yes. And I was doing like, this obnoxious character with an accent. And like, I was like, yes, I can. And it came out, and literally everyone in the class was like, oh, we haven't heard that. I hadn't heard it either. So that was very fun and
Oh my God.
crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
so
it's a
fun.
little more character driven than vocal
Yeah,
choice.
but you also had the musculature to back it up. At that
Yeah.
point, you had been
Yes.
training it. So
Yeah,
that's
it
when
was
it's
ready.
based in health and not like a panic belt that we just end up kind of screaming.
Yeah.
So that's on good training. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. So that was super exciting. But yeah, I don't remember feeling like frustrated. I just remember it was, I guess, blowing auditions was never fun. But, the
Yeah.
prep took some time, but it was exciting when we got there, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like the that performance anxiety or really any rush of adrenaline
Yeah.
changes so much and it takes a really long time to practice how to deal with it. Does it ever go away?
No.
Probably not. It's just how we deal with it. And I feel like so many of my students get so frustrated, like, oh, I was so nervous. Don't be
Yeah.
mad at the nerves because they're just gonna be there. And
Yep.
you're wasting all of your energy being mad at yourself then instead of kind of figuring out, oh, how can I work through this? Okay, this is
Yeah.
just gonna be here.
How can we have them serve what we're doing? Because they're not going away. If you don't have the nerves, you're probably not like excited and you're probably
Yeah,
not ready, you
yeah,
know?
good
So yeah,
thing.
I feel that.
Amazing. So, was it a few years ago? A year ago
Two
that
years
all of this
ago.
came to be?
Yes.
So tell me
Yes.
about your experience with a vocal injury.
Yeah, so my vocal injury story, I feel like it might be a little unusual. I think to set the scene, I was super overworked, as many of us performers can relate to. I think I was working something crazy like 60 hours a week. I was working like two big jobs, and then I was in a show at night. I was probably getting 6 hours of sleep
Mhm,
at night, like
mhm,
down to the wire. I was going through a breakup.
mhm,
I was in a new city. Like it was just a big stressful time. So what happens when you overwork yourself and you're not sleeping and you're stressed chronically? I got sick. Just a normal, what I thought like a virus, wasn't COVID, just got sick, had a fever, and I lost my voice and it wasn't coming back. Like I have my tricks that I'm sure we all have. I was steaming, I was vocal resting, I was teeing, I was
mhm.
doing all the things that you're supposed to do, and it just wasn't coming back.
Yeah,
And
and
I
your
was
jobs, your day jobs were very much vocally demanding.
so vocally dependent. In fact, in a way that I would absolutely never put myself in there's so many things I would do differently, but
We'll
especially
talk about it.
like, yeah, like so many vocally demanding jobs at once. It was almost impossible to get that rest that I needed. So that was probably another element. And so I have a cousin, shout out to my cousin Annie, who is a vocal professional as well as a nurse practitioner. And it was her, I'm telling her about these symptoms I'm having. My voice won't come back. I'm so frustrated. And she said, it sounds to me like you have acid reflux. And I was like, didn't know what that was at all. But she led me through kind of a checklist that she would ask a patient. And it was like, does this happen? Yes. Does this happen? Yes. Blah, blah. Every answer I was responding, oh crap. Yeah, that does sound like me. Um, and I think because, America, our wonderful healthcare system, I didn't actually get into an ENT for about 4 months after all this happened. So I started taking kind of over-the-counter acid reflux medication on my own until I could see the doctor, and I noticed some improvement. Um, and so by the time I actually got scoped by an ENT, which was my first time ever getting scoped, he was like, "Oh yeah, and so your vocal hemorrhage is recovering nicely." And I was like, "What? Oh my God!" Like,
A casual bomb to drop.
of course. And he, they're like in, moving around. He's like, "Yep, it's like 95% healed. Good job, whatever you're doing." And I was like, like so gobsmacked. And yeah, so that was kind of how I found out that I had a hemorrhage. Didn't even know until it was
Nice.
95% self-healed, and I can report now pretty much 2 years later. I was just scoped a few weeks ago and he was like, "No evidence, it's all gone, no worries." So thank goodness. But
Yeah.
yeah, the acid reflux diagnosis that came in that same meeting from an ENT really changed so much of my vocal habits and just life habits.
Mhm.
But I've noticed such a huge change in how tired my voice gets. It's much improved now that I'm taking care of it in a way I didn't know I had to.
Yeah, and actually, in a lecture that I had earlier today in class, we were talking about acid reflux and how
Right.
singers are prone to acid reflux because of the way that we use our abdominal muscles,
Yes.
and shake up the contents of the stomach. So,
We're constantly pulling up,
mhm.
um, and especially like teachers, but even performers, you're eating, you have to eat, your show's at 7, you have to eat something,
Yeah.
you have to have some, and pulling up and in with the abdominals is going to cause this reflux. I found out that mine is also hereditary, so I was like, boom, boom, double punch,
Yeah.
like,
Ouch.
it's written in the stars, it's gonna happen.
What is different now, post-injury versus pre-injury, in terms of like how you care for your voice, the boundaries that you set, that kind of stuff?
Totally. Yeah. So I made a lot of lifestyle changes. Like I don't drink coffee on an empty stomach anymore. It's a great example because girl, I was doing that for many years, like
I
15
still
years.
do it.
Yeah, no, and that's what I think the nuance that sometimes social media
Yes.
doesn't have time to share is that if it doesn't bother you, okay, great,
Yeah.
then do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's just something that really worked for me. I have a non-negotiable daily vocal check-in that I do every morning. It's part of my morning routine. Quick 5 to 10 minute SOVTs, a little warm up just to see where we're at and also just warm up for the day, right? That's been a huge change. Um, I've made, professional changes. I know a lot of us can't really control what our side hustle is or what
Mhm.
our day job is to support the like our artistic side. But I just lose my voice a little bit more frequently than my peers.
Yeah.
So, waiting tables in a really crowded restaurant, teaching big crowds of young professionals at a time,
Mhm.
our kids, all those things, they don't work for me. If not sustainably, not long term. So it has to be more intentional. So, teaching voice lessons really works for me, but even just working in small groups with people,
Mhm.
was a big change. Trying to think of other things. Medication. Medication
Medication.
for acid
Yeah.
reflux is important too. But yeah, and I've been taking copious notes, I think, of how things affect my voice.
Hmm.
Certain foods or beverages, or like I love a sparkling water, but cannot have those on a teaching day because they are a big trigger,
Yeah.
and I'll lose my voice. So just little changes like that.
Yeah. I wonder, when you had this hemorrhage, had you taken your voice teaching cert?
Had my voice cert, and it was so interesting because my main symptom of the hemorrhage was that my voice just like wasn't coming back
Uh-huh.
in the normal way.
Uh-huh.
But it did end up coming back. I remember it was Tech Week, of course. I got the vocal hemorrhage the week of Tech Week or the week before. I opened the show with, probably 95% vocal
Mhm.
capacity.
Mhm.
So it was harder even for me, with a voice training certification to identify that I was injured in any way. I
Yeah.
remember really having to post show steam, and I was nebulizing like constantly. I was doing a lot to keep it going.
Mhm.
But I just thought, man, I'm really sick. I didn't have any
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I feel like it's such a common misconception. I don't feel like we as performers are educated enough on vocal injuries.
Yeah.
We all think like It's either you're super healthy or you have nodes, and
Right.
there's no in between. But
Yeah.
even voice professionals get vocal injuries, and they're not like debilitating, career-ending injuries. They're just kind
Yeah.
of bumps in the road. Um, but a vocal hemorrhage is actually a pretty common injury, especially
Yeah.
for people who menstruate.
Mhm.
So it's not as taboo as I feel like it is played out to be. Just
I
because
think
you have an injury doesn't mean that you have bad technique or you're
right.
an unhealthy person or any of those things. You're doing everything
Absolutely.
correctly and you had the knowledge to do that, the training and also
Yeah.
the teaching cert to know all of these things.
Exactly. And my ENT actually pointed out when I went most recently that most vocal hemorrhages are caused by dehydration. So I actually,
What?
so that was really interesting. I'm sure I was dehydrated. I'm sure I was like,
Yeah,
you know,
because you're working
with that
60 hours a week.
stress. Yeah, when you're running around and not paying attention, like that's just human.
Yeah.
So these things are going to happen. And we just have to have the like support in place. I had never been scoped either before any of this. And I remember in high school being like, scoped, getting scoped, that's like for people who are messing with their voice. That's
Yeah.
for people who don't know what they're doing. It's like, no, no, no. We should all get scoped. Everyone should.
Yes. If you
Yeah.
are using your voice on a daily basis in a full capacity, you should be getting scoped. It's
Mhm.
like a football player going to a physical therapist.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
should, that's just your one of the ways, one of the
Check
many
in.
ways we're taking care of ourselves.
And I also had the misconception that scoping was dangerous, and that is not true at
No,
all.
no, not true at all. We're not
No,
touching the vocal folds. We're just looking at them. Is it uncomfortable? 100%.
not fun. Not a
But
good
it's
time.
done in less than 30 seconds.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a necessary evil for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story. I know that it's a vulnerable thing, so I appreciate you doing that. And for being here and for being part of the Meg's Voice Studio team. We love Mary Kate.
Ditto.
All right.
Ditto.
Mwah. Love you.
Mwah.